turn on your mind. Been the one since a young and I cannot deny. Wear my heart on my sleeve, keep a gun on my side. Laying it ears to the deaf, giving sight to the blind. Ample my mind.
Wow, we are truly here. The first ever episode of Ample Minds podcast. My name is Richard Ortiz. I am your host. It is a true pleasure. I just ask one thing, is that you don't mind the lack of structure of this podcast, this first episode, because there is none. All right. I'm going to see what works, what doesn't work, and we'll go on from there. But what I will be talking about in this episode is what I want this podcast to represent, what kind of community and environment I'm trying to establish. Once we got that covered, we'll go on to myself, the very first mind we're getting a deep dive of. I'm going to be as vulnerable as possible, tell you guys where I was a couple years back, my current mindset, maybe get into detail about some goals I have in the future, ended off with a word of the day, a quote of the day, and leave you guys with something to think about. Maybe you guys want to join me on the next one, and hopefully we'll get the ball rolling and keep going from here. I mean, by the time everything I have lined up, I got covered everything. You guys will kind of know if this is for you or not once you shut it off. And I hope you guys enjoy me on the journey because I am super excited. Look at all these buttons I have. I don't even know what half of them do, but I'm ready to go. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Ample Minds Podcast. What is it? Why am I here? And it's as simple as me trying to shed light on the value of conversation with somebody who can help you in the aspects and whatever you're trying to seek and acquire, whether that might be a certain skill or information, or maybe just better people around you. Why not go ahead and go and get that said skill from somebody who does it at a high level, right? You can gain two things from that, maybe a friendship or a mentor, someone that aligns with your current goals, or just plain and simple, the information you were looking for to begin with. And take myself for example, I'm just trying to do the best with my 24 hours, the best with, the life that I'm given. I haven't done that thus far. I'm doing better as time goes on. I'm trying to break old habits, establish new ones. And just to name off a couple of goals that I have, I'm just trying to get better with my finances. So why not go ahead and talk to somebody to the right of me and be like, hey, where can I put my dollar right now? And they'll let me know where I can put my money, and hopefully it works for itself. And I'll get out of that hamster wheel of a cycle of me just working and exchanging my time for money. I got work in less than 40 minutes. I got to go ahead right after this. So, hopefully I can break out of that, create some type of passive income. I'm big on character. I believe character is not something you are born with or inherit. It's more of something you got to chip at and build at every single day. And what kind of, you know, energy do you want to walk in a room with? How do people know you by and stuff like that? Emotional intelligence is big for me. Branding, why not talk to an entrepreneur that can help me take the Ample Minds brand to a whole nother level and give me a blueprint? And at the same time, whoever I'm talking with, hopefully it's a two-way street where we both walk out of the studio and hopefully something new we learned, or, a mind stimulating conversation that we didn't have when we walked in the studio. So it's always, me trying to hopefully, yes, on the route to kind of being a better me, why not go ahead and document it, make a show of this, put it out and see if anybody can't take from anything that I'm, documenting, and they're learning something and they can run with it. And that would be a win-win. A lot of people are like more selfish nowadays. Let me just think about me, me, me. But I feel like it's a true blessing and it's a more fulfilling feeling if you're able to help other people on the route to helping yourself, and maybe, on a bigger scale, if you're lucky enough, impact the world. But I'm just trying to help one or two people, on the road to helping myself, kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. And yeah, you can honestly say this podcast is more of a personal journal, and it's more for myself. But if anybody can take something from it, it's a win-win. So that's kind of the gist of Ample Minds. We're picking as many brains and minds as possible, and they don't have to be, necessarily along the lines of me achieving my goals, or we might not have the same interest, but anybody will tell you that regardless of what they do, if they do it at a high level, there's a certain common denominator there, whether that's a mentality or a certain skill set or a routine that they have. And I want to, see what I can get from other people. right? That's just the main goal here. And I just feel like I just can't wait to even showcase other people that I feel like have a lot to give that don't have that platform. Why not myself start a platform and, hey, you know what? Let me learn from you, but also, maybe you can help other people that, aren't able to get to you and what you have to offer. So it's along the lines of, yes, helping myself, helping you guys. Maybe you guys take something from this podcast and helping the guests that I have on this podcast to really shine. And hopefully we can get people to, tune in. And like I said, a community. We're trying to build a community, and I am rambling. So let me go ahead and let me go ahead and wrap it up. That is basically the essence of what I want Ample Minds to truly be about and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and go on to myself. My name is Richard Ortiz Basaldu. I am full Mexican, although I look translucent as hell. I'm white as hell, pale, whatever you want to call me, I am that. But my mother is from Puerto Escondido, Oaxaca, and she is the first entrepreneur I ever laid my eyes on. She came to America with her two boys and then had me later down the road. She, to this day, sells tamales on weekends. She cleans houses on weekdays, self employed, and she's just a hustler. She's given me everything I could ever even ask for and more. No father figure in the household. That is a story for another day, but she did it all and she made sure I wasn't missing anything that I was truly missing, if that makes any sense. She was trying to make sure I was the happiest and she worked her tail off. And I was that. But the fact that she was trying to shield me from the fact that we were very low income, poor, again, no father figure in the house, but she played both parts. She is my superhero, and I appreciate everything she's ever done for me. And with that being said, there is one, downfall or a fault in that strategy was she basically shortchanged me in a lot of the basic skills and fundamentals of just being a independent, self-disciplined person, you know? When you're just coddled in that blanket of being spoiled, to be frank with it, to be blunt, I was very spoiled. She giving me anything from action figures, PlayStations, you name it, I had it. And that's the thing. She just loved me to death and just wouldn't let me wash a single dish, made my bed and everything, right? I had it made. And that's kind of how Latino households typically go. You find a woman, cook for you, clean for you, go to work. But I just was watching a video by Inky Johnson that really opened my eyes to have me realize, well, you know what? These are basic fundamentals, and it's a good way to start a routine and build something inside of you that, regardless if something's important or less important, you do something how you do everything because that's just how you're wired, and you're more better off. Just that is just who you are. You are performing at a high level at all times, and I just realized that I wasn't there. So let me go ahead and play that video for you because I can't really explain it better than Inky Johnson. So, and I can also take a water break because my mouth is parched. So let's go ahead and play that video.
Arena and you see a water bottle on the ground, you don't walk past it because you're building something. You're cultivating a certain mentality. And so you pick the water bottle up and you put it in the trash and you don't say, it wasn't mine. That's what my 7-year-old son do. I say, Ink, go pick that piece of paper. Well, Daddy, I didn't do it. I didn't ask you, did you do it? I just asked you to go pick it up. I didn't do it. I didn't ask you if you did it. Right? I'm not concerned with who did it. I just want you to get the mentality of doing certain things a certain type of way so you can possess a certain spirit that can sustain you 20, 30, 40 years past the game of basketball.
You can't prove that I just played that video for me to take a shot right now. I was really thirsty. But back to the point at hand, yes, when I saw that, I realized I wasn't there yet. I just wasn't, but I wanted to be. Because at some point, there's a certain role, from a parent to a child that it should switch. Your parents aren't getting any younger. And considering my situation, my mother working two jobs, just hustling, providing food on the table, you got to help. But the best I could do was get a job. And I got a job. School wasn't really my forte. My mom barely spoke English. I got a job and make sure, later than I'd like to have got a job. I got it like at 18, 17. But when I had the money just in case she needed it, she would never take it, and, unless she truly needed it, I would have it, thank God. But she just looked at me, and she still looks at me, her baby boy, and, she loves me so much, but she doesn't realize the disservice she's doing me. So, moral of the story is I'm just trying to be better in any aspect, and I feel like she'd understand that me even washing a dish or just making my bed is something, yes, the bare minimum, but that just helps me build something and something for myself, and then the routine gets better. So I had to fast forward, move away from my mom. She's thinking she hates me or that I hate her, that I moved away, because a lot of people from the outside looking in is like, well, I mean, you're treated like a king. How is that a bad thing? But life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. That's just plain and simple. So I moved away en route to kind of, hopefully get my shit together, because staying at my mother, the worst place for a man is comfortability. And I just didn't do what I was supposed to do living with her. But like I said, the best I could have I done back in the day was just get a job. But then I just fell into that hamster wheel of drinking and working, drinking on weekends, working. And that's just no way to live. And I'm just trying to, think outside the box with me trying to create passive income, also doing things that I love to do, also with making my mother proud and stuff like that. So I got a long road ahead of me, 24 years old now, and I feel like I'm in a better place than I was back in the day. But it's hard it's really hard for me to kind of get everything in all one sitting. So that's kind of, the gist of it. It's not black and white, but I feel like it'll come more naturally when I'm talking to somebody, and when there's a point that I'm trying to be made, I'll go back on my past and kinda, pick at it and give you guys more on what truly was going on in my life. Next episode, I'm gonna tell you guys the biggest catastrophe well, I can't even say that word. The biggest catastrophe I ever experienced in my life that really shifted my mindset, but that deserves a whole episode on its own, but we'll get into that. So I kinda wanna get into something that I made, which is the word of the day. Look at this. This is dope, right? My logo up top with the word of the day, perspective. Perspective is the ability to consider things in relation to one another, interpreting the world through the lens of others, allowing you to open your heart and mind, something only a few can understand. Perspective is a big thing on this show, and it's the fact that we're literally taking other people's perspective in hopes to, pick from it and take from it and put it into our own daily routine and, knowledge. And perspective truly drives performance, right? How do you view things? How do you look at them in order to how do you operate in life? Perspective helps with being empathetic to other people, have that true sense of empathy, because one day you might need somebody to look at it from your point of view. And the only way you can expect that to happen is you look at it from other people's point of view, have an open mind, and not try to truly judge other people, because at the end of the day, just because their perspective doesn't align with yours, as long as it doesn't involve murder or anything like that, you should be cool. Like, you're fine. Like, don't go ahead and, judge a book by its cover, because if you truly just shut your mouth, open your ears, you can truly pick from a lot of people, something, if you're willing to, hear them out. So perspective drives performance. I truly believe that. How do you look at things? I can look at this podcast from one perspective of, well, I mean, nobody's gonna watch this podcast, right? Podcast industry so saturated. I mean, I should just cut this off right now and be done with it, and not go through with what I want to do. But I refuse to look at it like that. I have the perspective of, well, one, I want to do this, right? This is my thing. I'm trying to, get this going for myself because it truly brings me joy. And two, regardless if 100 people's listening or watching, if I can truly, provide something to one person and they could take something from it, that's enough for me. Also, like I said, I just want to do it and see what comes of it. And I'm fine with that. That's the perspective I choose to have. And that's fine with me. So, I mean, I may not truly understand perspective, but I mean, I just believe that's my spill on it and how I can, to the best of my ability, that's how I'm explaining it. So, yeah, try to have a great perspective, because I believe perspective drives performance. And we're going to go ahead, actually, this is a great time for me to be even more vulnerable with you guys. I'm going to list off a couple strengths and weaknesses to kind of get a gauge of where I'm at currently. And hopefully, we can see the progress as time goes on. And then I can look back on this and be proud of myself. So, yeah, we're going to list off a couple strengths and then a couple weaknesses to kind of hopefully turn those weaknesses into strengths. And we'll just get this show on the road. So, I believe, the first quality that I have that I can build on, that good foundation for what I want to do in the future is me just being a very self aware person, understanding that one, I've never blamed anyone or anything for anything that I didn't have or anything that I didn't acquire yet. I know that I haven't earned it. Anything that I do have, I've earned, but there's no victim mindset here. There's nobody to blame for my situation or where I'm at right now other than myself. I can look inwards and understand that, okay, I got some work to do. I can find the problem. And even if the problem has to do with me, I can hold myself accountable. And like I said, I was implying that earlier with me understanding that I grew up spoiled and I was truly fighting with that tug and pull of me actually just, being so conscious. I pulled back the curtains and understood my mother's working two jobs. There's no dad, and she's just hustling. Let me go ahead and step up. Although, I mean, like I said the best I could do was just get a job because I was still so blanketed by that, growing up spoiled. And it felt so good because, oh, my mom would do it. It's fine. She got me, but that's no way to live and stuff like that. So I, took the initiative no matter how long it took me, moved out and I'm doing better for myself. So yeah, like I said, I just truly believe me being self-aware is the biggest quality that I have and understand I'm able to look within myself and be objective and truly honest with myself. So that is one. Number two, I feel like I'm just a very positive person. We just talked about perspective. My perspective is always bright side, you know, glass half full, and I'm just walking around, acting like everything's okay, which, there could be some fault to that too, because too much of anything is bad. You got to have that balance, and I got to make sure I got to find that right sweet spot of me being positive and me being realistic. But as far as I'd rather be on the positive side than, walk around with a cloud over my head and be, a Debbie Downer and stuff like that. I mean, if I had to choose one, I'm glad I'm like this because at the end of the day, just being positive is the way to go, right? So, number two, and then number three is just me. I believe I just love talking to people. I'm just a sociable person. I believe that there is not enough people you can't talk to because anybody you meet you can pick one thing from them and everybody comes into your life for a reason, whether that's a bad reason or a good reason, but you can take anything from every encounter. And this is what I'm trying to do here with this podcast is I'm trying to encounter more people and have a great conversation. Hopefully we can learn something, right? Build great relations, your circle. You're right. You're only as good as the next five people around you. Sometimes it's not what you know is who you know. I'm giving you guys all these cliches. But yeah, no, there's truth to all that, right? And I'm just trying to truly exploit that. And the past, my charm and my charismatic attitude has only got me in trouble because I truly just didn't give a shit. I was just going ahead and partying and living it up, not giving a crap. Talking about the time that this girl ripped my panties from with her mouth. Wait, what? Why'd I say panties? I meant boxers. But just back in the day, I have so many stories that I can tell, but I want to use that to benefit me. I was using my charm and charismatic and my goofy side to just goof off. Why can't I go ahead and use this to my benefit and create a podcast and see if I can entertain some of you guys while, working on myself. So those are my three strengths. My three weaknesses are, and this is where it gets tough, right? Because, being self aware, but it still hurts criticizing yourself, but you got to be real. I believe that although, yes, I'm very self aware, oh my God, I am the biggest procrastinator on planet Earth. My self discipline is awful. Truly, it is bad. And how it's almost like an oxymoron of how am I so self aware and I know what I need to do? Found the root of the problem. It's myself, but I choose to put it off. Or I choose to, I'll do it later. Or I'm just not disciplined to be consistent and go ahead and take that first step and the second and third. And that's just my biggest problem right now. And it has to change. I mean, it's not like I just found this out yesterday. I'm doing better, and hopefully this podcast can be a testament to that, where I put out episodes and I don't pick something up and just put it down because I've done that a lot. I've got into certain things that I've kind of wanted to do, and then after a couple weeks, it's done, forgotten. So yeah, hold me accountable if anybody sees this and comes up to me and is like, "Hey, you better keep that podcast up." And that's what we're gonna do here. So yeah, that's my biggest weakness. It's unfortunate to say, but that's cold hard facts. Second is I don't know why I always felt like I needed somebody or a partner in something that was my idea or something that I wanted to do. And I have three examples for that. And one was back in the day, I grew up a skateboarder in our community. We weren't in Watts, but we weren't in Beverly Hills either. Small community in Harbor City, California, where you honestly could gangbang, excel in school, or skateboard. And I chose to skateboard. I loved it for a truly long time. So I kind of presented an idea to my four close friends, and I was like, yo, nobody's doing this. Let's go ahead and review skate products. We'll save other people's money by saying if it's worth it or not. I got this idea from a basketball YouTube channel called Kick Genius, and I was like, "Yo, let's go ahead and do it for skateboarding." You know, fast forward, and it just being me and my boy Pops. Shout out Pops, I love you. He swears this never happened, but it did. But yeah, we were the kind of the face of it, and then we were doing so well for a great time. A skateboard company put our video on their website. We got a lot of traffic. Everything was looking up. But then, around 15, 16, high school comes into play. Girls, drinking, hanging out, friends, partying. Pops kind of went towards that route. And then once I kind of noticed him kind of lose interest, I just kind of didn't keep up with it. I mean, I could attribute it to, me kind of falling out of love with skateboarding at the time, but that's kind of where my passion for content creating grew. So that was the only thing keeping me, skateboarding and stuff like that. But yeah, once I saw him kind of lose interest, I was out. And I don't know why I did that. Maybe because I thought, the workload was too much for two people or, it was our thing. But truly, I wanted it for myself more than anybody. And, or just to feel a failure. Maybe if we fail together. Just all that bull crap excuse that I was kind of putting in my brain to let that go. And even with this podcast, I wanted to start a podcast for 3 years. As early as last year, I was going to start a podcast with a friend I worked at 24 Hour. It was going to be called Something Light, Something Right Podcast. That was a great name. It was ready. We were going to Starbucks, doing the outline. And once it was time to get the equipment and ready to go, if I didn't text him, he wasn't going to hit me with, okay, you ready to do this podcast? And I noticed that, and he wasn't as interested. So I backed off and I forgot about the podcast completely. But I actually truly wanted to do a podcast. And I let myself just not do it because he didn't want to do it. And same thing, Ample Minds podcast was supposed to be a website, kind of like a Discord website where it was almost like, okay, anybody can put on a web page of a certain niche and everybody could come and learn from this person or contribute to this website because you guys are all interested in the same thing. Basically a Discord, but we were young. But my homie Josh, he made the name Ample Minds, and we were working for like 2, 3 weeks. We got the name trademarked, we're ready to go. But then he felt like work was more important in that current stage of his life. He was hanging out with his significant other a lot, and his priorities were not on this, and which mine were. I just like to do things. I like to create things, but for some reason, I always felt I had to have a partner in it. And then if they weren't interested, it was over. Like, can you believe that? Like, what the hell was I thinking? But I finally let that go. This is Ample Minds Podcast. My name is Richard Ortiz. I am your one and only host. So give me a round of applause for me. Stop being a bit. All right. I'm glad. I'm done with that. Not going to let anybody stop me. I got to believe in myself, as you guys should too. So, I guess, I've been rambling a lot. So let's go ahead and go on with the quote of the day, and we'll just end it there. I don't want to make it too long. I'm not, that interesting. So we'll go ahead and end it with the word of the day. I'm going to read it. It's by Dr. Dennis. Hopefully my reading voice is immaculate. There are two primary choices in life: to accept conditions as they exist or to accept the responsibility for changing them. I'm going to read that one more time. Let that sink in. There are two primary choices in life: to accept conditions as they exist or to accept the responsibility for changing them. Doesn't get any more simple than that. Everybody has cards that they were dealt in life. Yes, you're not responsible for your single parent household or your lack of resources or you were born into a very poor situation. Yes, you're not responsible for that, right? I wasn't I didn't wish to be born, right? Like that type of thing. But I mean, from that moment on, the moment you build some consciousness, it's up to you to change the trajectory of your life. Nobody else, there's no excuse big enough to truly validate you sulking and, "Oh my god, my life sucks." Well, yeah, it sucks because you won't change it, right? It's that simple. I can't put it any more simple than that. So, it's up to you guys. You truly can do it. On the word of the day, perspective, right? I can look at it from the point of, yeah, me, my life sucks. But somebody to the right of me might have it way worse. And they don't choose to look at it like that. So they go ahead and one day at a time, shipping at his life and really transforming it to what he feels like he truly deserves. Because whatever you want in life, you can truly attain it if you work hard enough. Yes, there's, physical limitations. I'm not LeBron, right? But, as far as, a certain level of life, or income that you want to achieve, you can go ahead and achieve that. And so this person chose to go ahead and put that work in, and now he's living a life that people write about in books because it's truly possible. So accept the responsibility for changing them, or accept the conditions as they are and just be sad and blame everybody but yourself. If you're like that, go ahead and take a good long look in the mirror. But I'm sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings and you guys are scared off. That is it for Ample Minds podcast. All right. That was done. I want to do a quick shout out to my boy Gil, aka Tootie the One. Brother, I appreciate you. You killed the intro. Anybody who is listening and watching, go ahead and go down in my link in the description. I'm gonna be leaving all his music down below. Tootie on all platforms. Tootie the One on all platforms. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you guys for listening. If you guys made it this long, hopefully you guys know what this podcast is about and you guys could come and join me on the next one. I want to see you guys, please. But that's it. We are done. I don't know what else to do.
I'm just passing the time.